Hey up, it's that old Yorkshire geek here, back with some more news. Adjusting myself again, I did this yesterday, didn't I? Sorry. Back with some more news of a geeky nature. Some interesting news stories tonight. Nothing earth-shattering. It depends how you look at it, doesn't it? So, anyway, we'll crack on. We'll see what we've got. So I shall fire up the window, and first up is... I'm not wrong one, because I'm stupid. Oh no, I'm not right one. Here we go, I just didn't lower it down. Can you see it? Yeah, you can't read that. I'll read it to you. Because it doesn't all fit. It doesn't all fit on this silly little screen. Okay, it would if I want it way. You know, I could move it over there, couldn't I? I could do that. There you go. Batman, Robert Pattinson reveals the villains he wants to fight in a sequel. And then I'll move it back over there so you can see the writing. Fingers crossed. Let's scroll down. There he is, Robert Pattinson as the Batman. Right, so let's have a look. Nah, it's near enough. You can read it up there, can't you? That bit up there. That bit up here, you can read that. Right, off we go. Right, in March, Warner Brothers and director Matt Reeves are bringing a whole new vision of Gotham City and the Batman mythos to the big screen, with Robert Pattinson starring as as a more hyper-violent version of the Vigilante. In fact, we've already watched Pattinson dole out beating after savage beating in the trailers leading up to the movie's release. But when we spoke to him for our Batman cover story in the new issue of Den of Geek magazine, the actor was excited, even jovial, about where his Dark Knight might go next. Inevitably, the subject of a potential sequel comes up, while Warner Brothers has yet to officially announce The Batman 2. Pattinson already knows which villain he wants to fight in the next movie. I'd love to do something with the... I'm going to burp, hang on. Might edit this out. Oh, cracky Moses. Right, start again. I'd love to do something like Court of Owls, says Pattinson, referring to the 2011 DC Comics horror story about a hidden society that secretly ruled Gotham from an underground lair for centuries. The storyline by the dynamic duo Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo kicked off a new era of Batman tales that took the character to darker corners of Gotham City than he'd ever been before. The Court of Owls, a cult-like faction of criminals who wear owl masks and employ undead assassins to do their bidding, would certainly fit into the more gothic feel of Reeves' new Batman universe, according to Pattinson. There are elements of the Batman which are kind of horror, and I think it really feels quite new for Batman. I mean, I don't know much about the Court of Owls or, the comics, because as I said yesterday, I'm not a big comic reader. Well, when I was a kid, and, no, it's not very geeky, but, I suppose I should try, shouldn't I? I tried getting back into 2000 AD, but, I bought some comics, but I was in the middle of a storyline, and I thought, nah, it's not like it used to be. I'm not a kid anymore, But that's just me. I should have another go. I might buy some comics. See if I can get some cheap comics on like Kindle or something like that. Might be able to get some. Might and have a read. Get back into it. Be a bit more of a geek. I am that old Yorkshire geek after all. Anyway, the other villain on Pattinson's wish list, Calendar Man, the creepy date-obsessed baddie who commits crimes based on holidays. He also plays the role of a Hannibal Lecter-like genius taunting the Dark Knight as he tries to find the serial killer terrorising Gotham in The Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, one of the major influencers for The Batman. See, you say, I've heard of some of these characters, but obviously I've seen them in, like series like, Gotham, which I quite enjoyed. They had the Court of Owls, didn't they? And Calendar Man does ring a bell, so I've probably seen him somewhere before as well. Maybe in Gotham, maybe in like Titans and series like that. But I don't know. But before Pattinson can truly turn his attention to owls or calendars, he first needs to deal with Paul Dano's Riddler. The sadistic, puzzle-solving, masked killer inspired by the Zodiac Killer is not only on a quest to eliminate Gotham's most elite citizens, but to uncover the corruption at the heart of the city, one body at a time. Along the way, he digs up dark truths about the Wayne family that will shock Bruce to his core. So they're not going the old Jim Carrey route, either, or the I can't remember the name actor. See, 5 minutes in, and I'm forgetting names already. From the 60s Batman, that Riddler. Oh, what was his name? It'll come to me. Come to me when we're talking about something else. It's the classic setup we've seen in many great comic book stories, a fight for the soul of the city and Batman's own. But this is still all new to the world's greatest detective, played by Robert Pattinson. Yeah, we know that because we're talking about it. Only 2 years into his crime-fighting career, this caped crusader thinks he knows Gotham and understands his mission, but when the Riddler comes to town, it makes Bruce lose his footing. Bruce thinks it's his city in a weird sort of way. He thinks he's kind of built it. Well, I suppose Wayne Industries, it's one of the major employers in the city, isn't it, I suppose. So there you go. But while Bruce has the money and the castle, he'll learn the hard way that he has absolutely no control or power over anything in the city, apart from people that work for him. Riddler is far from the Dark Knight's only problem in the upcoming movie. Pattinson's Batman will also have to take on a who's who of classic villains, including Master Cat Burglar Selina Kyle, Zoe Kravitz, infamous mob boss Carmine Falcone, John Turturro, and freakish gangster Oswald Cobblepot and unrecognisable Colin Farrell. It's certainly the biggest challenge this Batman has ever faced. In just a few weeks we'll find out whether the Dark Knight can defeat the odds once again, or if he'll suffer an inevitable fall. Floodwaters cover the streets of Gotham in the trailers, suggesting Batman can't completely stop whatever is coming. Maybe it just rained a lot. I always just seem to rain a lot in Gotham, doesn't it? Reeves has revealed that his take on the mythos is heavily inspired by noir films. In the tradition of the classic genre's grim storytelling, there's a chance the hero might not come out the winner. The Batman hits theatres on March 4th. You can read more exclusive details about the film here. And there's a link. All the links will be in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Hit the notification bell, drop a comment in the comments below. Be gentle with me, be nice. Although we're 15 episodes in, I'm still not very good. Can't remember names. Muddle me words. Because I'm an idiot. Right, so there we go. So that's, Robert Pattinson reveals the Batman villains he wants to fight in a sequel. So we'll have to see if he gets a sequel. I think this new one will do well. Got off to a shaky start, didn't it, when he opened his gob, didn't he, and said, I've not worked out for this Batman. And everybody said, well, you're stupid then, you should put some work in. And apparently he has worked out, he was joking. He was pulling our legs, apparently. That some people have suggested maybe he hadn't worked out, and they've used like body doubles and CG'd Pattinson's face on. But anyway, I don't know. Right, so that's that over with. Right, anyway, are we still there? Yes, we're still there, still cooking with gas, as we say. Right, next up, bit of Doctor Who news. Russell T Davies reveals why he returned to Doctor Who. The writer tells RadioTimes.com he never stopped thinking about the show, and there he is. And it's a Radio Times exclusive. I think not anymore. It's a old Yorkshire, I can't talk. It's a that old Yorkshire geek scoop. Except it's not. I'm just reading. What am I on about? Russell T Davies has opened up about his shock decision to return as Doctor Who showrunner. Yeah, I think there's loads of money and fixing what Chibnall did, basically. But anyway, we'll carry on. The acclaimed screenwriter recently topped 2021's RadioTimes.com TV 100, recognising his incredible year that included the launch of powerful age drama It's a Sin on Channel 4. For many years after leaving Doctor Who, Davies insisted that he would not return for a second stint on the long-running sci-fi drama. I've just realised I said Davies, or is it Davies? Some people say Davies, don't they? But I said Davies. Does it matter? I suppose it does for him. Maybe he can drop a comment in, below and Show me the pronunciation. But it now appears the show was never far from his mind. He said the truth of it is, everyone lies when they leave Doctor Who and says, "Oh, I've moved on, I've been thinking about it since I was 3, so there's no way you stop thinking about it." Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor will be regenerating later this year, ushering in a new era for Davis, who will work alongside another lead actor whose identity is yet to be revealed. I'm sure that's an article about it. Where are you going? There are things coming up. Hang on, let's make sure he's still reading. Yeah, you can see it. There are things coming up that are brand new ways of telling stories that have never been done before, so it just feels new. I wouldn't have gone back if it wasn't feeling new. Davies. See, I said Davies then, didn't I? Davies teased. It's because there's teased, you see. I saw teased and I thought Davies teased. I'm going mental. I'm going mental. He went on to elaborate on why Doctor Who has a unique appeal to writers that few other shows can claim to have, as each week brings its own distinct premise and cast of characters. I'm sitting here now, 10 pages away from a climax, thinking, God, I've never been in this territory before. I'm presuming he means a climax. On the page. I'll stop now. God, I've never been in this territory before. This is strange and new, and hopefully I'll learn something out of it, added Davis. Yes. The reason why I've worked on 34 programmes in my life is that I don't normally like continuing series. That's why It's a Sin came to an end and I just moved on. He concluded, I just like looking at a new set of challenges every time and another blank page, but Doctor Who is always a blank page. And there's a video you can, if you follow the link, you can watch that. Oh, that's it. There we go. So he's shutting up. We won't play that because we'll probably get a copyright claim like I did yesterday for me. The trailers we watched yesterday. I covered them up with my logo and stuff, and I zoomed in on them, and I talked over the audio. Still got a copyright claim, didn't I? Universal, tell you. Because it was their video, they got a copyright. Put a dispute in anyway. Not that it matters. Not that I'm monetised, but it's, it's the point of it, innit? Anyway, so there we go. So Rusty Davis, why he came back? Because I don't even know why he said he came back. Because he's never stopped thinking about Doctor Who, basically. And the truckloads of money he'll get, and the chance to fix what Chibnall broke with his silly, the first Doctor wasn't William Hartnell, according to Chibnall. It went on for thousands of years before, and there have been thousands of iterations of the Doctor. Oh, God. Hey, what a load of rubbish. Anyway, I stopped watching it, I stopped watching partway through Jodie Whittaker's I think first season, or maybe made it into second series. But yeah, I didn't like the stories. I lost interest, to be honest, before Jodie Whittaker came on board. Probably in Peter Capaldi's last series, because it were getting too preachy. I mean, Capaldi can deliver a speech like no one, and he's great, but the writing just went downhill. But anyway, we'll see what RTD can do, and hopefully he brings it back round. But who's the new Doctor going to be? Is it going to be somebody contentious? We shall see. Right, next up, another blast from the past, and another Radio Times article. There we go. Everybody recognise that, don't they? Gerry Anderson concert to play classic TV themes. John Coulshaw to host. Oh, excuse me. Music from Thunderbird, Space 1999 and more will be performed at a special one-off concert. And there's Thunderbird 2 on top of a mixing desk. The work of legendary TV and film producer Gerry Anderson is to be celebrated in a special one-off concert. Stand by for action. Gerry Anderson in concert will take place at Birmingham Symphony Hall on Saturday 16th of April 2022 and will be hosted by John Coulshaw, who's in the UK is a famous impersonator and comedian and astronomer. He's right into astronomy. He does Sky at Night as well. Occasionally. Anyway, this is John Coulshaw talking. Right. I'm thrilled and very honoured to be hosting this fantastic occasion, an occasion which will fill the Symphony Hall auditorium with the magic of the great Gerry Anderson, said Coulshaw, who provides the voices for characters including Parker and Jeff Tracy in Anderson Entertainment's Thunderbirds audio stories. Yeah, he's done some on the YouTube channel as well. They've done like little videos and he's provided the voices for him because he's quite a good impersonator. He's Tom Baker, he's top notch, although that's not Gerry Anderson. I grew up with Gerry Anderson's shows, so having the opportunity to present his work to a live audience is a real delight. Stand by for action, which obviously is from Stingray. See, I'm off, I'm going, it's going through my head. The event will see iconic soundtracks from shows including Thunderbirds, Space 1999, Captain Scarlet and UFO, composed variously by the likes of Barry Gray, Richard Harvey and Crispin Merrill, but mostly Barry Gray. I mean, he's the legendary music composer, legendary composer for the majority of Gerry Anderson's 60s work and early 70s. And he was a genius, and his themes were amazing. And to be honest, I've never heard of Richard Harvey and Crispin Merrill. Apologies to them, I'm sure they're really good. I'll have to look into them and see what they did. Maybe they did stuff like Thunderhawks and... Is it Terrorhawks? Yeah, Thunderhawks don't exist, does it? I don't know. Terrorhawks, isn't it? Which I didn't like. I didn't like Terrorhawks. And Space Precinct, and that were a Gerry Anderson, wasn't it? And I also didn't like that either. I think last thing I liked of his were UFO, to be honest. Anyway, performed by a full symphony orchestra and guest singers. Merrill will also perform on piano with Harvey conducting the orchestra. It will mark the first time that this complete career-spanning collection of film and music will have been performed live in concert. I hope the video in it. I hope it's going to be out on video at some point because it will be good. Or on the BC. Jamie Anderson, son of Gerry and director of Anderson Entertainment, said, I cannot wait for fans to enjoy this exciting, nostalgia-packed and varied evening of iconic tunes with a full video backdrop. The concert will feature exclusive footage and newly restored colour and high definition content. This is truly an epic journey not to be missed. Presented by Anderson Entertainment and Carrot Productions. Is it Jasper Carrot? It's in Birmingham, isn't it? Maybe it is. Stand by for action. Gerry Anderson in concert will take place at Symphony Hall on Saturday, 16th of April from 7:30 p.m. Tickets are £38 and are available to buy now. That's a lot of money, is that, isn't it? £38. I mean, back in my day, though, we went to concerts and stuff and it was like a £5. But those days are gone. But there we go. There's a picture of see what we can recognise. Right, we've got Thunderbird 2 there, Thunderbird 3 there. No idea what that is. Is that from Terrorhawks? Probably. Supercar, Fireball XL5, Captain Scarlet, Thunderbird 1, an Angel Interceptor from UFO, Scott Tracy, Lady Penelope, Eagle Transport from Space 1999, two people from Space 1999 there, UFO Interceptor from UFO, a UFO from UFO, Stingray, and Colonel Straker from UFO. There we go, did alright there, didn't I? I did alright, remembered all the names. I usually don't do, but obviously I think all of these, maybe apart from, is it Terrorhawks? Is it Terrorhawks? I don't know, because I didn't like it. I thought the puppets looked horrible. Maybe all of them, apart from that, is Barry Gray music. And it's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, Thunderbirds is just amazing. It's an amazing theme. I better did it justice then, didn't I? Anyway, so hopefully that's going to get videoed and they're going to release it. We'll see. I hope they do. I mean, there's every chance that they won't, but I hope they do. Or at least on a record, doing an audio version of it. Anyway, we'll move on. Right, next up. Hey, can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Right, this is from Looper. This sci-fi comedy is the most underrated. Well, it is. Underappreciated film of Ivan Reitman's career. And I bet you can guess what it is, if you're into this stuff. Of course, it's got, my name's gone, my name remembering things gone. I could remembered all Gerry Anderson characters, didn't I? But can't remember her name. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. God. You're in Hannibal. She played Agent Starling, didn't she, in Hannibal? Ooh, it's hot tip of me too. Right, fans are in mourning after the news recently arrived that Ghostbusters director Ivan Reitman died in his sleep at the age of 75 on February 12, 2022. The Hollywood legend was loved not only for working on the Ghostbusters franchise with Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, but for a number of his comedies like Stripes, Twins, Kindergarten Cop and Junior. Reitman's death is a devastating loss for the movie industry, but he leaves behind an incredible legacy that will never be forgotten. He was working right up until his death, as his IMDb page lists a number of forthcoming projects he was attached to as a producer. Reitman was even working on a twin sequel entitled Triplets, with Tracy Morgan set to join Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger as a long-lost third brother. The long-awaited sequel is due to start filming this year, so it's hugely disappointing that the director won't be here to see it on the big screen. Reitman is best known for directing the supernatural comedies Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, and his son Jason Reitman has also helmed the recent sequel, Ghostbusters Afterlife. But the famed director also used his comedic talents to play with another genre, and this sci-fi comedy is the most underappreciated film of Ivan Reitman's career. And there we go. Evolution is an underrated sci-fi comedy. Or is it Evolution? Take your pick. Don't really matter, does it? I'm going to have a drink. Excuse me. Just talk amongst yourselves. And I'm sure I'll burp again. But what the heck? And there, there's a scene from Evolution. I'm going to call it Evolution. That's how I say it. Sorry. With all, weird alien plants growing and animals and things. And it's really good. Right, here we go. Evolution arrived... Hang on. Oh, I've gone too far. Evolution arrived in theatres in 2001, although it was met with a disappointing reaction back then. It holds a 44% critics rating against a 47% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's call the whole thing off. Or not. Rob Gonsalves gave it an incredibly poor review for eFilmCritic.com back in 2008. It took him 7 years to write it, did it? Writing, part of the problem with Evolution, aside from the fact that it isn't really very funny, is that it's mostly jaded. There's very little gee whiz, almost no awe. Ouch. The film follows a group of scientists who investigate a meteor that crashes in Arizona, only to spawn a number of dangerous aliens that quickly cause chaos in the nearby town. It features the X-Files star David Duchovny as lead scientist Dr. Ira Kane, alongside Julianne Moore. That's who it is, up there. Alongside Julianne Moore as Dr. Alison Reed and Orlando Jones as Dr. Harry Block. Sure, it's a similar setup to Ghostbusters, as I said yesterday, but with an alien threat instead of a ghostly one. Dan Aykroyd even appears as a United States Army general. Does he? Is he a general? I thought he was like a senator or something like that. And yeah, he does. He plays like a senator, the state senator or something. And it's he might have Soundset Lambs that plays Buffalo Bill is the general. Hey, and I say I don't do my research, but it still works a treat. DreamWorks Pictures and Columbia Pictures were clearly impressed with it at the time because it even spawned an animated series based on the film. Did it? I have no idea that happened. So I have to look into that. Evolution has become something of a cult film in the last few years, as critics have looked at it with fresh eyes. Real Film Reviews called it an ideal example of how to do a summer movie right. while Charlotte sometimes goes to the movies wrote that it's kind of mid-budget science fiction comedy they just don't seem to make enough of anymore. It's definitely worth rewatching Evolution, if only to honour or honour. I don't know. They were on about that on Countdown today, or Susie Dent, saying H's are being dropped when they shouldn't be dropped, and they're being used when they shouldn't be used. So it's honour, isn't it? You don't pronounce the H. Even that's contentious. Is it H or H? Anyway, but it's honour. If only to honour the late Reitman. And that's it. We're on to other things, aren't we? The 98 best sci-fi movies of all time. I haven't got time to go into that. Obviously, Terminator must be up there. So there we go. Yes, it's a great film. I really enjoy Evolution. People say they don't like it, but I think David Duchovny shows, he can do comedy. And Julianne Moore's a bit... She's there. But it's David Duchovny and... she's Julianne Moore. And Yolanda Jones, who are the stars of the film. That's... I don't know who's who here. Who we're looking at here? I don't know. That's Julianne Moore, isn't it? I think that's David Duchovny. Is that Orlando Jones? I don't know. I think that was like some scientist because he got glasses on. And a gun! I'm going to have to watch it. I said I'd watch it yesterday and I never got round to it, so I apologise for that. But there we go. So that's that. Watch Evolution. I'm sure it's on like Amazon or something like that. Be on some streaming service somewhere because it's worth watching and it's good and the effects are good and it's funny in places. It's funny in places because it's also got what's his face from American Pie, not the Pie Kid, the one of the other ones. What they call him? Sean something or other. Yeah, him. Sean with two N's. Him, whose name I can't remember, but it's got him as well, and he's quite funny as well. And it's also got Sarah Silverman, who less said about the better. Right, next. Now we're into more like newsy things rather than entertainment. We're getting more into news. Right, billionaires need to stop using science fiction for business inspiration. And there's Elon Musk giving us a thumbs up for some reason. Right, picture the scene. It's 2092. You and your significant other, yes, that's what they said these days, are celebrating your 70th wedding anniversary, partly in the metaverse. Everyone you love will be there to greet you, your avatars looking as wrinkle-free as the day you married. It's going to be a lovely evening. The problem is that if you want to remember any of it afterwards, you will have to watch some adverts before you can replay the memory. I think it's going to be before 2092. This is the future tech billionaires seemingly want. You can't open Twitter today without Elon Musk promising that we'll soon store our brains in the cloud via his company Neuralink, or Mark Zuckerberg telling us a new life in the Pixar version of the Matrix that is his metaverse. Sorry, selling us a new life, not telling us. Still haven't learned to read, have I? I don't doubt that new technology could help us overcome the limitations of ageing brains or bring scattered communities together. But I'm frightened by the prospect of Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk being in charge of it. I think we're reading this in the... who's the author? Who's the author? It says somewhere, doesn't it? Chris McCrudden is the author. It's obviously his opinion. I'm sure I read somewhere it says, is he a sci-fi writer, Chris McCrudden? I don't know. I've read that somewhere. Anyway, we'll carry on. Oh. He says there. This is because I'm a writer of science fiction, and I know that however much plutocrats sell their concepts as their own, they rip them straight out of the pages of sci-fi and fantasy novels. Yeah, well, that's what they do, don't they? They've always done that. Sci-fi has always influenced science. Star Trek's famous for it. How many people have gone into science or, astronomy or become astronauts or whatever because of Star Trek? I mean, how many things has Star Trek influenced, technology, from, they had pads, didn't they, what they did the work on that. They've obviously become tablets and mobile phones and all that. Not transporters yet, though, and warp drive, but they're working on it. They're working on it. I mean, famously, didn't Stephen Hawking I did a tour of the Star Trek set. I think it was the Next Generation set, I think. Might be wrong. But he did a tour of that, didn't he? And looked at the big mock-up of the warp drive, the Enterprise's warp drive. All its lights going up and down. And he said, I'm working on that. So there we go. I'm sure he didn't say it like that, did he? I'm working on that. Sorry. Ban. I'm just kidding. Anyway. Zuckerberg did just this when he appropriated the term metaverse from the virtual world in Neil Stephenson's 1992 novel Snow Crash. Excuse me. Frankly, I wish they'd given Frankly, I wish they'd give these ideas back, not least because Stephenson is probably owed royalties and an apology for how embarrassing Meta made his creation sound, but because whenever a billionaire gets an idea from a book, they forget to check whether it was intended as a warning. Consequently, they end up building technology that makes life more expensive and less safe for normal people, just because someone with lots of power and money thinks it's cool. Take the concept of the smart home, where everything from our fridge to our lights is controlled by technology, for example. Noted science fiction fan and rich person Jeff Bezos has made this a reality through the rollout of Alexa, which is now said to be in 1/4 of US homes. He also bought the video doorbell company Ring that turns every front door into a surveillance operation. He's been a bit paranoid there, mate. I mean, it's checking people that are coming to your front door, isn't it? That's what it's doing. That's what it's doing. Which, ain't a bad thing, really, is it? It's not, it's not spying on you. Spying on people coming to your front door, but so what? And smart homes, got to watch out for them, haven't you? I mean, we've seen Demon Seed, haven't we? That didn't work out well, did it? For whoever were in that. Was it Julie Thingamabob? Yeah, anyway. But we first saw this vision of home as a place where technology ran the show back in 1969 when it appeared not in an Amazon product demo but in Ubik, a novel by the author of Blade Runner Philip K. Dick. Here Ubik, or is it Ubik? I don't know. Ubik's I say Ubik, it sounds better, doesn't it? Here Ubik's protagonist wasn't liberated from buying his own milk by an all-knowing voice assistant. He was trapped in his own apartment by a wisecracking door lock that wouldn't open until he paid it 3 cents. Dick's scene is deliberately comedic, but it was a warning of the hidden costs that come of turning simple actions like opening doors into commercial services that only work if they're constantly fed money and data. Fair enough. So we're getting like that now, aren't we? I started from a similar place as a writer. 3 novels in my Battlestar Suburbia series. I mean, talk about ripping off names and giving royalties, mate. Jesus wept. Imagine what might be in store for humans if smart devices ever figured out that they were more intelligent than their users. I chose this path, as many novelists do, because writing about how advanced technology makes us feel is a great way to plumb our contemporary hopes and anxieties. For example, when Margaret Atwood first sat down to write The Handmaid's Tale, she wasn't wishing for a world where women no longer had bodily autonomy into existence. Rather, she was imagining a logical endpoint to the rise of the Christian right in America, which feels depressingly prescient now that Roe v. Wade is being challenged in the Supreme Court. This is what gives science fiction and fantasy stories their power. They give us a fictional sandbox to imagine what life could be like if we made certain decisions. The difference between the average reader and the billionaire is, however, that most of us can only picture a rocket ship. We don't have the resources to build one and use it to colonise Mars. Yeah, but somebody's got to do it, haven't they? It's either a billionaire or it's the government. Excuse me, I've got a hair in my mouth. Anyway, this ability to act without ever thinking about the implications of those actions is where I think people like Musk come undone. He never appears to have wondered what we might lose about ourselves if we use Neuralink to upload our brains to the ether. This is even though Isaac Asimov, an author whose work Musk claims inspired him to start his company SpaceX, felt very differently about this very subject. In his short story Eyes Do More Than See, a pair of human beings have evolved into immortal creatures of pure energy. They can go anywhere, see everything, and yet when they do recall their physical selves, they're overcome with grief. Because they're forced to remember that their bodies were how they learned to love each other. Once again, technology might enable us to do wonderful things, but are they worth it if they cost us part of our humanity? Yeah, but is that... Let's say I've not read that, so I don't know. But the way it comes, they've evolved into immortal creatures. They haven't uploaded their brains to the ether, have they? But that it says they've evolved, naturally, so they ascended into another state of being. Anyway, like ghosts. If ghosts exist, are they the same? Do they, cry about the loss of the physical form, which is why they're all banging and clattering and roaring? Anyway, where were we? This blindness to subtext in the science fiction. This is, and obviously subtext, so it's up to interpretation in it. We've all got us opinions about stuff. And who says any of us are wrong? If we've got a different opinion, maybe we're all right, because it's all subjective, isn't it? Anyway, this blindness to subject in the science fiction and fantasy that billionaires claim inspires them isn't just making our world more expensive or emotionally arid, though. I think that by transforming everything from opening doors to falling in love into a fount of trackable and monetizable data, they're making it more oppressive. The poster child for this is another billionaire, Peter Thiel's, notorious surveillance company Palantir. Never heard of them. Obviously, the Palantir is the globe thing, isn't it, from Lord of the Rings. And so, not all of them have been found, and you don't know who's using them, and, so somebody could spy on you with it. Because Sauron used them, didn't he? And Saruman. Anyway, this business has helped the Trump administration deport migrants and aided the Los Angeles Police Department's efforts to racially profile and surveil citizens. Yet it was the name he chose for it that crystallised both the scale of Thiel's hubris and his total deafness to irony for me. The name Palantir comes from the all-seeing stones in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings that give their possessors great knowledge while delivering them into the grip of a Dark Lord. Talk about saying the quiet part out loud. Reading has long been thought to make us more empathetic people. Research has shown that it's a wonderful way to live in a more conscious and compassionate way through imagining ourselves in the lives of others, says an author. I don't think that this holds true for the titans of tech. Maybe they're too busy to stop and think about the consequences of their ambition. Perhaps they're hardwired by wealth and privilege to see themselves as the hero in every story. Think you're being a bit hard there, mate. Whatever the reason, Mark, Elon, Jeff and Peter, I'd suggest it's time to hand in your library cards. If they don't, I fear that we'll soon find ourselves living in science fiction, only it won't be like Star Trek or the Jetsons. It'll be far more like the Hunger Games, where, if I remember rightly, everyone leads miserable lives apart from a very few rich and powerful people at the apex of society. A bit like now. Right, so there we go. I think it would have been a bit hard there, was Chris. A bit, I know, yeah, I see his point, and we've got to be careful, haven't we? And sometimes I think our progress is a bit faster than our wisdom. So yeah, you've got to be careful. But I think he's been a bit overly. I don't know if the word's paranoid, but overly cautious. And as I said, people like Elon Musk, he's on about his Neuralink thing, which does sound a bit iffy to me. But he's also got his SpaceX company, which is forging ahead in the private space launches and stuff in it, and getting man back to the moon and hopefully to Mars. But some people think he won't do it, but we'll see. And Jeff Bezos, is doing his thing in it, and as I said, if these billionaires aren't doing it, who will? I mean, you can't rely on government these days, can you? They're too busy doing other things. But anyway, that's that was, it was an interesting article. But I think he's been a bit overcritical of billionaires. So, but that's what billionaires are for. To spend the money in stupid ways. Maybe it's stupid, maybe it ain't. Right, next one. Oh, excuse me, I told you I'd be burping. Of course, I that pop. Right, next one is Sci-Fi. It's from the Engineer website. Thinking big, Dyson spheres and ring worlds. Right, it says from Dyson spheres to ring world, science fiction author, another one. Gareth L. Powell takes a look at some of the largest engineering projects literature has to offer. Obviously, as we know, a Dyson sphere, you've probably seen it in Star Trek, the Star Trek episode Relics. The Enterprise came along across a Dyson sphere, upon which had crashed the USS Janolan, which still had still power going to the transporter, and Scotty and another chap had basically transported themselves and put them in the transport buffer and survived for 70 odd years, 75 years. But that was crashed onto a Dyson sphere, which is a big. In Star Trek, it was just a big sphere around a star, and on the interior surface, trillions and gazillions of people could live with unlimited power from the sun. Obviously, there'd never be night, would there? It'd be day all the time. I presume. But anyway, so that's what a Dyson sphere is. I presume it wouldn't necessarily have to be a solid sphere around a star. I mean, where do you get all material for? You'd have to mine trillions of planets, wouldn't you, to get all that material and asteroids and it's a bit far-fetched. But it wouldn't have to be a solid sphere. It could be like a series of rings or whatever. But anyway, let's have a read. As this is my first column of the new year, I want to take a look at some really science-fictional examples of engineering. I'm talking about the big stuff, the stuff that's theoretically possible, but about which we can currently only dream. Take space elevators, for example, first conceptualized by Konstantin Tsiolkovsky. Oh, God, they're Russian. Who had a starship named after him in Star Trek. In 1859, and then improved upon by the Russian engineer Yuri N. Artsutanov. I apologise for him. I'm sure he's dead. A century later, a space elevator is a tower or cable that stretches the 35,786 kilometres or 22,236 miles from the Earth's surface to a geostationary orbit. Once constructed, this elevator would allow cheap and efficient access to space. Payloads would ride up in elevator cars rather than have to rely on dangerous and expensive rockets. Construction of a space elevator would begin in orbit, with the cable being slowly extruded from a space station until it reached the surface. At the same time, a second cable would be deployed behind the station to act as a counterweight. Of course, both these cables would have to be unreasonably strong, but recent proposals for the production of macro-scale single-crystal graphene have led the International Academy of Astronautics to conclude that we're much closer to being able to build one than most people think. International Academy of Astronautics. Sounds like something from 2001, that, doesn't it? Anyway, there we go. Artist's impression of a Dyson sphere around a distant star. Obviously, see, that's not a solid sphere, is it? Next up, I want to talk about ring worlds. Not ringworm, ring world. You might be familiar with the basic idea from the video game Halo or the movie Elysium, which is really good. Well, I liked it. As the name suggests, ring worlds are wheel-shaped structures in space. They are spun to produce simulated gravity on their inner surface. In his culture novels, Ian M. Banks referred to them as habitats and suggested that once we were able to automate their construction, they would essentially be free to build, and we could convert any spare matter such as comets or asteroids into livable space. In his 1970 novel Ringworld, the American author Larry Niven postulated a version of this concept with a diameter of 186 million miles, wide enough that it could be built around the sun, which would then provide light and heat for the inner surface. So that's a bit like a Dyson sphere, isn't it? But like a sliver of it. Of course, in order to hold together, any such structure would need to be made of unreasonably, it likes that word, doesn't it? Unreasonably strong material, and would need some mechanism to stop it drifting off centre and brushing up against the sun at its centre. However, could one be built, it would provide almost endless room for expansion, boasting a surface area equivalent to 3 million Earths. If you think that's impressive, you're going to love Dyson spheres. Like Niven's Ringworld, a Dyson sphere completely surrounds its parent star, but where the Ringworld only circles the star's waist, a Dyson sphere completely encapsulates it. The idea was first described by Olaf Stapledon in his 1937 novel Star Maker, before being popularised in the 1960s by the theoretical and mathematical physicist Freeman Dyson. His thinking was that sooner or later a growing civilization will need to trap and use 100% of their star's energy output, and the only way to do that would be to build a shell around the star. Now, this shell might be an actual sphere of solid material or a cloud of densely packed smaller habitats. Either way, they would also provide a huge amount of potential living space. Oh, pardon me, I'm at it again. I have to have another drink. Sorry, I do apologise. Talk amongst yourselves once more. Oh dear. I'm disgusting, aren't I? I'm from Yorkshire, we're all disgusting. Well, most of us. Some researchers have actually started searching for alien Dyson spheres. Such objects would obscure all the light from their star, but would radiate in the deep infrared. In fact, when KIC 8462852, or Tabby's star, inexplicably dipped in brightness in 2015, some members of the astronomical community actually proposed the ongoing construction of one of these megastructures as a possible explanation. But even a Dyson sphere wasn't impressive enough for Ray Bradbury, and he decided to expand on the concept by postulating a nested series of spheres he called a Matryoshka brain. In this model, the innermost sphere would collect the sun's entire energy output and use it for computing. The waste heat produced by this computing would then be collected and used by the next sphere, which in turn would generate its own waste heat for the next sphere to collect, and so on. Obviously, a computer of that size with access to that amount of energy would be more powerful than anything we can easily visualise right now. Not only would it potentially become a conscious entity in its own right, it would also be capable of hosting detailed and convincing virtual simulations that would be almost indistinguishable from the real world. If you say so, mate. It would certainly have the processing power to run perfect simulations of something as relatively simple as a human consciousness. In fact, you could be in one right now and not even know it. Oh, there we go. The Matrix. Oh, deep thought. And its answer is 42. Obviously, that's not the answer. Well, it is the answer, but we don't know the question, do we? So there we go. That was very interesting, wasn't it? So Dyson spheres and ring worlds and space elevators. The thing that's most likely to happen, within the next 100 years or so, is the space elevator. Surprised we haven't got one now. But there we go, and that's it. That is it. That's all the articles I dug out for today, which I was surprised about. I didn't think I was going to find much today, but I did. So there we go. Get rid of that. Right, so hope you enjoyed those articles. As I said at the start, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, and drop a comment below if you liked what you saw. If you didn't like, also you could drop a comment to say how rubbish I am, but do it nicely. Constructive criticism. Learn to talk, learn to read, remember names, take notes. There we go. I've done it myself. You don't have to bother now. Right, so we'll leave it there and we'll see what happens. I'm sure there'll be some news I've missed that's happened while I've been doing this, but we'll leave it at that for today. So until next time, hopefully tomorrow, I'll see thee.